Hello, everyone. I'm Sophia Candelaria, and today I'm going to be arguing against Sydney Fenner's argument that Ukraine should join NATO. So, her first argument states that Russia will be less likely to continue its war in Ukraine in fear of a larger war given NATO's membership. This is something I don't agree with because of how unpredictable Putin is. He has threatened nuclear strikes on almost a daily basis. And recently, a few days ago, he even flew nuclear capable bombers near Ukraine, which is that's a very risky situation to get involved with. And he's threatened strikes if Kyiv ever made a move and joining NATO specifically. So that first and foremost is the biggest argument I'd say against Ukraine's membership, especially during wartime, because during war, this is going to put NATO directly into conflict with Russia, which is not a good thing and could escalate even further. And there's no assurance that Putin is given that he would stop the war or that he's scared of NATO at all. Um, and he's also boosted up his allies. Now he's got Iran and North Korea and China, that whole axis of evil kind of concept behind him. So I'm not sure he's very afraid of NATO, in my opinion. But her next argument would state that it's in NATO's interest to have Ukraine's military and their spirit, and that they benefit from these two things. First thing on the spirit part, in that she referred to their unwillingness to give up, that it's helpful for NATO, or I'd say really their spirit, but I don't think that's something NATO really is looking for in a new member. But they do have criteria for nations wanting to join, and these criteria have elements of being a democracy, to democracy, making steps towards that process, and being an open market, having an open market. And this is something Ukraine has failed to do in the past, and that's countries such as Germany and France have both acknowledged that Ukraine has had corruption, and they were unsure of its membership, and that Ukraine is still a developing democracy, and they still need to get to that point where they're meeting all the criteria of NATO to then join. So that's been a prohibitor in the past, and I think that'll continue because they are very unstable currently because they're in war. But maybe afterwards, if we see progress, we see those elections come up again, we kind of see what kind of country they're going to turn into, then I'd look for membership. But right now, they're a little unstable to be joining. And another military part. Now they've had a lot of military successes recently, or kind of in the past now, of pushing into Russian territory. Um, a lot of that has to do with them, yes, but then a lot of it has to do with the aid and the importing of capabilities. We're giving them a lot of artillery, a lot of weapon systems. We gave them precision guided missiles and a ton of other things. NATO members have also, we've sent them billions of dollars, historical amounts of money in Europe that hasn't been seen since the Marshall Plan. So a lot of that has to do with their military success as well. So it's not really a benefit to NATO because NATO is already kind of giving them those capabilities. So I wouldn't really say that NATO is will benefit from having Ukraine's army or military. But those are kind of my arguments against her two main points. But I would say she's made two observations that I completely agree with. And the first one is that Russia will not stop until all of Ukraine, or at least a part. I wouldn't agree with all of Ukraine, but I would argue that Russia is not going to stop until at least has a part of the eastern part of Ukraine, to at least like gain something from this conflict. And Ukraine won't stop, and it won't make a peace deal unless it gets all of its country back. So those two factors will butt heads, and it'll be interesting to see how it's resolved diplomatically because it won't be solved with Ukraine joining NATO. But thank you, Sydney, for your argument, and I hope you enjoyed my rebuttal.